The Stoics believed that everything must change, otherwise, nothing new can emerge. Sometimes, we crave new experiences and think about changing our environment, like the bed we sleep in, the couch in the living room, or the kitchen. We want to redecorate everything, maybe even move to a new house, neighborhood, or city. We consider changing jobs or careers. Sometimes, we even wish to change our lives, but we rarely think about making changes where we have 100% control, ourselves. When we change ourselves, the environment and the people around us automatically change. Just as the environment influences us, the way we choose to act and live can also influence the environment. The Stoics also taught that we have control over our judgments and how we react to what happens in our lives, how we think about and understand each event and how we choose to respond to them. This video is dedicated to exploring the internal changes within our control, ourselves. If this is your first time here, I want to tell you what our regular viewers already know: this video reached you because someone liked it. So help us spread the word, be the reason this video reaches more people, like it, leave a comment, and share it with your family group. Now let's dive into the teachings. You can curb your arrogance, overcome pleasure and pain, rise above your ambition, and not get irritated by stupid and ungrateful people, and even like them. These words are from Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at his time, who wrote to himself that it was possible to control his arrogance to change and learn. I've been this way since I can remember. I learned everything wrong, my parents set a terrible example. Everyone does this. If you use these statements to justify or defend your lack of change, after watching this video, you won't be able to do that anymore. These are the most common excuses or crutches we all use to stay exactly as we are, feeding our character flaws instead of striving every day to become better. Perhaps you've never thought about it this way, but resisting change can be considered an act of arrogance. When we refuse to adapt or evolve, we are essentially assuming we already know everything we need to know or that our current way of doing things is the best in the world. On the other hand, acknowledging that we need to change is usually an act of humility that shows our willingness to learn and grow. It is entirely possible to control our anger, insecurity, ego, or arrogance. We can re-educate ourselves and abandon our financial irresponsibility, uncontrolled cravings for sweets, and daily laziness. How do you think other people manage? Surely their parents weren't perfect, they didn't grow up in a rosy world immune to problems, life's difficulties, or temptations, vices, ego, or vanity. They simply learned to deal with these issues, solving their problems by focusing on what they can control, their emotional responses. These people approached personal development as they would any problem, dedicating themselves to finding solutions and advancing gradually, one step at a time. When you decide to change and fight for change in your life, you begin to shape your personality through effort and dedication. The attitude of, "Don't mess with it, it's better this way," which requires no effort, starts to fade away. You stop seeing yourself as merely a victim of circumstances and begin to reinterpret what happens to you, allowing you to respond in a new way. For example, imagine you are looking for a new job and get rejected in an interview for what you considered your dream job. Upon receiving a "no," you feel disappointed and entirely discouraged. If you interpret this situation solely as negative, this discouragement will overwhelm you. You might start questioning your abilities and doubting yourself. Of course, a negative outcome, like a rejection, isn't something that makes us happy. But if we learn to see the situation from a Stoic perspective, we will see it for what it is and can reshape our emotional response. Instead of being consumed by discouragement and insecurity, and diminishing yourself, you can view this rejection as part of the journey. You can analyze and correct the weaknesses in your resume and LinkedIn network, for example, which can lead to new opportunities. In other words, you start to see the situation as it truly is, rather than through the lens of your rejection panic and insecurity triggers. After you change your attitude, things start to change as well. Imagine that 2 weeks later, you get another interview opportunity and receive a "yes" for a job much better than the first one where you were rejected. Changing your attitude gave you the confidence to see the situation as part of the journey and move forward. This was crucial for achieving your goal of getting a new job. When we don't rein in our negative emotions, they start to control us and influence our actions. This means that instead of changing, we use arrogance to justify our behaviors. Instead of progressing, we find comfort in our insecurities. Instead of developing self-control, we let anger dictate our responses, leading to the worst consequences. Instead of improving ourselves, we let laziness dictate when we wake up and how we do things. Instead of looking inward, we seek satisfaction in external attachments, thinking this makes us strong. Accepting responsibilities, such as controlling our attitudes and judgments, is key, as Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations. If we believe that only the things we can control are good or bad, then we have no reason to blame the gods or be angry with others. Taking responsibility for our personal change means understanding that we have total control over how we interpret each situation that happens to us, preventing us from blaming life, God, inflation, the market, the dog, the neighbor's noise, or anyone else in our lives. When we take on this responsibility, our approach to life changes, as we start to hold ourselves accountable for our actions. A behind-the-scenes story tells that on former U.S. President Harry Truman's desk, there was a sign that read, "The buck stops here." As an American politician and president with great power, he knew he was solely responsible for his actions and couldn't blame anyone else. Similarly, in our own lives, we are the presidents of our destiny. Our power lies in the rational choices we make or fail to make throughout our day. We can't control everything that happens around us, but we can control how we react, we can control our attitudes, and that is enough to create real change in our lives. True change happens when we face each day knowing that we can't pass our responsibility onto others, that we can't transfer the responsibility for our progress or stagnation in life to others. Everything starts and ends with us. Epictetus advised his students to use counterforce in their training. He explained that our habits, whether good or bad, influence our actions. Therefore, he suggested using this influence to our advantage. Sometimes it can be very difficult to put Stoic teachings into practice, such as taking responsibility for our financial situation, health, physical condition, or emotional state, because we often have a tendency to blame other factors. For example, some people say, "My business failed because inflation soared. I don't have emotional stability because my parents never provided a proper environment, I had few opportunities, so I never took off in life, I went into debt because I never had good examples of how to use money, or I don't have the health or body I want because I never learned to eat healthily." However, despite inflation, many businesses have started and prospered. History shows us that people who grew up in traumatic environments still managed to develop emotional stability. A striking example is Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust in Auschwitz, one of the worst Nazi concentration camps, and gifted humanity with one of the most profound books, Man's Search for Meaning, which reinforces the idea that what matters most is not what happens to us, but how we choose to respond to these events. In all cases where we try to blame others for our situation, there are people who faced the same circumstances differently and often in inspiring ways, proving that it's not just the situations that define us but also how we react to them. Do the opposite of what you are used to, break the pattern, and interrupt the negative impulse. When you notice a bad habit starting to surface, try replacing it with an opposite positive behavior. American writer Mark Twain said that habits are not things that can be thrown out the window, you have to coax them down the. Join our Stoicist journey at Buy Me a Coffee. Support with a donation or as a member and have a voice in our community. Every coffee fuels our mission to share wisdom. Be our pillar, make a difference today. Stairs one step at a time. For example, if you feel anger rising and growing inside you, take a pause and breathe deeply. If necessary, step away from the situation and tell yourself that you will act with patience. Whenever you feel the urge to blame something or someone for your difficulties, focus on what you can control and take responsibility for your own life. Challenge old, ingrained habits by using the power of training to improve and evolve. This approach not only helps break negative cycles but also promotes continuous personal development. Doing things the same way because we believe it's the only possible way can make us feel comfortable and secure, but this constant repetition can also leave us passive, without energy, and without a zest for life. For something new to emerge, we need to be willing to change. The good habits we develop can help eliminate the bad ones, and creating new habits is usually easier than we think. Epictetus emphasized the need to constantly train our minds and character, and Marcus Aurelius confirmed this idea in Meditations. He wrote that you should build your life action by action and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal in the best way possible. No one can do this for you. This statement by Marcus Aurelius, one of the most distinguished Roman emperors and Stoic philosophers, encapsulates an essential principle of Stoicism: the importance of living intentionally by focusing on the quality of each action we perform. We should strive to give our best effort in every task and be satisfied with this effort, regardless of the outcome, because often we cannot control the results. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we are the only ones responsible for living our own lives and for our actions. He highlights that no one can do things for us with the same intention and dedication that we can. For example, no one can lose weight for you. You can have a personal trainer, hire an excellent nutritionist, but none of them can lose weight in your place. The same applies to your career. You can take all the courses, have the best mentor, but only you can strive for success. Taking full responsibility for our actions and facing them with all the effort and attention is essential for a full and meaningful life. This not only brings us greater personal fulfillment but also teaches us to value the process of achieving our goals as much as the final results. Sometimes, we are so determined to change, to experience something new in our lives, that we want things to happen overnight. We ignore the process and focus only on the result, forgetting that it is the daily actions and how we perform them that build the outcome in the future. Who hasn't set a goal to lose 4 or 5 pounds in the first week of a diet? Or hoped that a new business would prosper and generate thousands of dollars in the first month? We also do this with our relationships when we want to experience true love in the first week of dating or assume that someone we just met will be a friend for life. Elite athletes in various sports around the world are increasingly adopting a philosophy focused on the process. This strategy was created by Nick Saban, the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide football team. He teaches his players not to focus solely on big goals, like winning important games or championships. Instead, he emphasizes the importance of paying attention to smaller details, such as maximum dedication in every practice, precise execution of every play, and performing each action to the best of their ability. The process is based on the idea that success comes from consistently performing small actions well, not just from achieving big final results. By following this strategy, teams tend to overcome difficulties and achieve success without fixating directly on the problems. The philosophy of the process aligns well with Stoic teachings, which instruct us to focus on what we can control. The Stoics believe we should accept what we cannot change and work on the things we can influence, such as our actions and attitudes. When you begin to apply the process in your personal life, it means doing the right things one at a time, in the correct order. This encourages you to focus your energy on what you are doing now, in each task, allowing the sum of small successes to lead to great achievements. Additionally, being prepared to face any challenge that arises is a natural consequence of this approach. By focusing only on the next step, we reduce distractions caused by obstacles along the way. This is similar to the Stoic teaching of facing problems with calmness and determination. Thinking in this way teaches us to value the process, improving each moment and each action we take along the way. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that if we believe something is too difficult for us, we should not think it is impossible. If others can accomplish it, so can we, as long as it is possible and appropriate. Stoicism stands out as one of the few ancient philosophies that included all people, regardless of social distinctions and pressures of the time. Epictetus, for example, was born and lived half of his life as a slave and managed to become one of the greatest Stoic masters of that era. Women, who were generally excluded from most forms of education, gathered to discuss and learn about Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, as a Roman emperor, and Seneca, as a politician, show that Stoic knowledge was open to anyone who wanted to learn, regardless of their social position. This is why Marcus Aurelius, in his Reflections, tells us that if it is possible for one person to learn something, then theoretically it is possible for everyone. If one person has more resolve to make decisions, this ability can be developed by all of us. If someone can act with seriousness and patience under pressure, we can all learn to do so. What determines whether we will learn these skills is how we view the success of others. And there are two types of people in the world regarding how they view the success of others. The first type of person looks at someone who has succeeded and thinks, "Why them and not me?" This thought often comes with envy and the notion that success is limited, as if when someone else succeeds, there's less left for others. It's as if one person took all the patience in the world, leaving everyone else perpetually irritated. This mindset can create feelings of resentment and frustration, preventing personal growth, as the person gets stuck in negative comparisons and believes that if one person is successful, another cannot be. On the other hand, the second type of person looks at someone who has succeeded and thinks, "If they can do it, why can't I?" If someone can respond politely in a tense moment, then I can also control my ignorance. This reaction is inspiring and stems from an abundance mentality, where success is seen as plentiful and available to everyone. This attitude motivates us to believe that we too can achieve similar goals, fostering a growth mindset within us. It encourages us to continuously learn and strive, as it helps us see success as something attainable for anyone who puts in the effort. How we react to others' success significantly influences the direction of our lives, our feelings, and our relationships. If you think people are born calm, patient, intelligent, or successful, or believe that only the environment shapes them, you are limiting your own potential for progress. Choosing to be inspired and see possibilities, creating a path, can motivate us and help turn our dreams into real actions and concrete successes. Conversely, if we let envy take over, it can paralyze our growth and trap us in a cycle of limitations, negativity, and dissatisfaction. Epictetus, a philosopher born into slavery and subjected to physical torture, taught that character development is accessible to everyone who seeks and works for it, not exclusive to a few people or a specific social class. Imagine if Epictetus had resigned himself to the circumstances of his birth. He wouldn't have become one of the greatest Stoic teachers and a mentor remembered to this day. So, asking yourself who you want to be is an invitation to reflect on how we react to success. Are we like people who envy and frustrate, or like those who see possibility? This response determines the values we want to develop in our own lives. And if you've made it this far, comment gratitude.